How great is the Soviet threat of subversion?
I think it's very great. That's what I'm going to talk about today at the foreign policy luncheon in a few minutes.
Well, what can be done about it? What can be done to meet that
Well,
threat?
that is what I'm going to tell. First place, we're spending now hundreds of billions of dollars, or have been over the last 10 years, spent hundreds of billions of dollars on the military side. I believe the Soviet realizes now we're far superior on the military side. Therefore, what they're going to do, and are doing, is to revert to the subversive attack on us, where we're less well prepared, to which we give far less attention, not nearly enough attention. We've got to organize our government far more effectively to deal with this subversive threat than it's organized today.
Hey, folks.
Hello.
Hello. It's me, your Uncle Evan.
Welcome to Left Unread, the Truth Files.
Who wants to go ice fishing with me?
Fucking exhilarating sport to do in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. The best part about summer ice fishing is how unlikely
That's not
you
winter
are.
ice fishing.
You're unlikely to succeed, but if you do, I mean, you've really accomplished something.
Yeah. You've accomplished a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Oh, man. So, what is up, man? What's going on?
Not much. Just kind of, once again, sitting in my sweat chamber, ready to record another wet and wild episode of Left Unread. We're finally, as I said, entering the truth zone.
Sure.
The Left Unread no spin zone. Fucking getting into that shit, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
The stories you're not supposed to know about your country.
Yeah, man. That's and we have level 16 X-rated clearance for all of this shit. So anything that you hear from us, you can absolutely quote and cite if you're an academic or you're bringing forth any sort of lawsuit.
And you know what? If you are, I may have cited you in this.
Hell yeah. Also, we're both completely willing to be subpoenaed as witnesses in any federal hearing on basically anything.
Yeah. And you know what? If you're the CIA, we're coming for you, brother.
Yeah. This Sunday at SummerSlam. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to get you. Oh, we are the cream. And the cream rises to the top, the cream of the crop. Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you now. I'll tell you right now, Mean Gene, the thing about the cream is, oh, yeah. So anyway, I feel like I had shit that I wanted to talk about, and I got into my masturbation cube, and it is so hot. I have no fucking clue. I'm like a blank slate. I have nothing to say.
I do have a few things, some small items to hit, which are actually all kind of related to what we're getting into. So, for our longtime listeners, you may have heard episode 15 about Pedro Castillo in Peru and the 90s dictator backed by the United States security state apparatus, Alberto Fujimori. Mm-hmm. Then, in episode 22, you may have heard about Bolivia and the CIA-backed coup that ousted Evo Morales before his party, the MAS party, came back to power. Well, we're going to take it all the way back to the beginning this week, to the early 20th century, to look how the security state apparatus unfolded, the milieu, so to speak, the primordial soup that burped out this deep state.
This filthy, sweaty, 8.5 ounce cup of garbage.
Yeah,
the
veritable acid reflux of Nazis and freaks and CIA spooks that birthed this.
You know, legend has it, okay, that at the dawn of time, a frost giant threw up in his own mouth, and the part that he wasn't able to swallow became the CIA.
Became Alan Dulles.
Dulles.
Yeah, but before that, let's get to a little bit of housekeeping.
Sure.
At this point, I'm gonna request some air horns to play. Pedro Castillo, officially declared president of Peru.
Hell yeah, man.
Wee-oo. Hell yeah, dude.
Dude, I can actually provide that live and on air.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's. Pedro Castillo is president of Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this fucking app. What else does it do? It does this. Okay, that's pretty lame. Oh, this is good though. And this is
that's
probably
what we say to Keiko Fujimori.
And then there's this, obviously. It's got a Wilhelm scream on it.
Nice.
And then something called Uncle Nick, which I don't think I've ever used. So we're gonna.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you could just do that with your mouth.
All right. Anyway.
It's got
also,
Uncle Nick.
Yeah. So we also had the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse by Colombian mercenaries. Now, Jovenel Moïse was kind of the CIA's guy, although he was illegitimately president by refusing to step down. And wouldn't you know it, the Colombian mercenaries, guess where they were trained? That's right, South Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
And,
you didn't give me a chance to guess.
Yeah, well, it's always South Florida.
Do you want to know where I was going to guess?
South Florida?
No.
What?
No, I guess it was South Florida.
Yeah, it's always South Florida.
It's always South Florida.
It's always. And over half the mercenaries apparently looks like they had ties to American law enforcement, including the DEA, that they were all various informants and stuff. So that's the CIA killing the CIA's own.
Love that.
We also have, so unfortunately, Daniel Jadue, who is a communist and Marxist professor in Chile, he did not win the nomination for the left coalition for the Chilean presidential election. Why are we making those sounds into the mic, bud?
What's that?
Okay. However, metalhead Gabriel Boric, he did win it.
That's cool.
Which is, he's pretty infamous for having a massive social media following and being like a metalhead, and also having worn shirts with like dead Pinochet era politicians on it. So
that fucking rips.
Yeah, so him and he said that he's going to work with Daniel Jadue, as they try to win the presidency in Chile and topple the Pinochet era economics.
Dude, I think that our time is nigh. Okay, as adherents to the one true musical art that is metal.
The metalheads will rule the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we should. I think that people that are into metal have all the essential qualities that I would want in a politician. So
they love gnarly breakdowns.
Well, okay. So first and foremost, just an appreciation of brutal shit.
Yeah, all things slamming. Yeah.
And here's the thing. A lot of politicians pretend they don't like that stuff, when in reality, that's like 90% of what you do as president is brutal-ass shit. So, like,
usually they're trying to break down the working class.
Right.
We're trying to break down this fucking pit.
Right. They want to... They want to open up their wallets and let some of that lobbyist money in. We just want to open up the floor here.
Yeah,
okay?
Dude, yeah.
They want to build a wall around Mexico. I just want a wall of fucking death. All right?
They're trying to circle the square. We're trying to circle, once again, push pit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. They want to blast Palestinian children into dust. I just want to blast beats.
These fucking beats.
They want to ensnare people. I don't fucking know. Anyway, so,
yeah, we'll move past it. But so we got that going on, and there's also the I'm going to put this in quotes, the protests in Cuba that are like massively astroturfed on Twitter. One of my favorites is that, for our listeners that don't know this, Fidel Castro and his movement was called the 26th of July movement. And so there's been like massive pro-government demonstrations with people holding up flags that say, 26 de Julio. And you can see those pictures of those demonstrations.
Yeah.
And like outlets are saying these massive anti-government demonstrations. It's like, dude, these people literally have flags that say the 26th of July movement.
Well, but here's the thing. It's all about your audience. And if your audience is a bunch of fucking idiot rednecks who don't know a little bit of Spanish, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can call those demonstrations whatever the fuck you want. You can say those people are demonstrating against fucking Beanie Babies. I don't know. And people are just going to be like, oh my God, and believe it because they don't believe in learning even a small conversational smattering of Spanish. So
I saw this right wing. I think they were a congressperson. They had a picture, and I shit you not, it was 3 anti-government protesters walking down a street, and then everybody else in the picture were just normal. And it was just 3 people. And they're like, the anti-government protests are continuing. SOS Cuba, we need to liberate Cuba. It's like, that is 3 people in Santiago.
Yeah, man. I've seen a lot of, especially on Instagram, a lot of like people that I follow, like meme accounts and stuff that are that are like posting like help the people of Cuba, tons of anti-communist memes, things like that. And it's fascinating to me because, okay, so you can make really legitimate arguments against specific communist states that have existed. But if you know even a little bit about world affairs in the last 100 years, Cuba's pretty tough to do that with, right? Like, because Cuba, as much as people like... Well, as much as people like to lump them in with, certain eras of the Soviet Union and things like that, for the vast majority of people in Cuba, I feel like the move towards socialism, it's been like pretty successful across the board. And the only people, like, of course, there's like a large and vocal population of Cuban Americans who are opposed to the government because who do you think the Cubans were that decided to come to America?
Yeah, they were the rich white ones.
Right.
And like, it's not the ones who loved the government that went to Florida. It's like you have a bit of a survey bias there. You're asking the people who were allowed to leave because they didn't like it.
And a lot of it is, the descendants of people whose like grandparents or parents were ousted or threatened or jailed or in some unfortunate cases, executed for oppressing the masses. And
I would say it's owning like sugar plantations.
It shouldn't be like a controversial point at this stage, in world history to say that the Cuban Revolution was overwhelmingly successful in terms of raising the quality of life for the vast majority of people on that island. And really,
even though
the only
they've
reason
been under like a medieval style blockade for 60 years.
Absolutely. And why is that? Because they were essentially like an unofficial American colony. And America doesn't like to give shit up. We just don't like to fucking
Thomas
lose.
Jefferson in 1820 talked about getting control of Cuba. In 1820, like, it was like the #1 imperial foreign policy goal of the United States, and they have been shitting their pants about it since.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody looks at it like it's this massive security threat. Like, look at this communist nation just 30 miles or whatever it is off the coast of Florida.
Sending their doctors around the world.
Right, and it's like, really, of the two of us, who do you think needs to be worried? Like, we're the scariest fucking country on earth because we are a psychotic schoolyard bully who will absolutely ruin your life for very little reason.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to believe that Cuba offshore is a fucking threat? Like,
I mean,
okay,
dude, that
even
was like
assuming that they nuke the shit out of Florida, like, is that really a loss?
They
like,
don't have nukes.
No, I know they don't, but I'm saying, like, assuming that the propaganda narrative is true, right? Assuming that the propaganda narrative is true, and they're this, like, big bad...
gonna cry about Tallahassee?
Right, they're this big bad, like, James Bond villain fucking country of evil people. Let's assume that they erase Florida. Are we worse off?
Dude, I mean, that's like the original Red Dawn movie where they have like fucking Honduras and Cuba invading the U.S.
That's
it's like,
yeah.
What fucking world are we living in?
That being said, all political whatever aside, Red Dawn, not the one with Chris Hemsworth, but the real Red Dawn, that movie fucking rips. That is such a fun movie. It's a piece of shit, but it is such a fun movie.
Yeah. All right, but anyway, so those just catching up on a little bit of the news here with Left Unread. But before we get into the meat, the real business of the day. Cam, I heard your good friend Jeek Falvio has a little pitch for us. Do you want to toss the mic to him?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeek is actually in studio here, and I'm going to call him Jeek. Jeek. What is that? Jeek. Yeah, no, we're ready for you. Okay. All right. I'm going to let him sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing? Jeek Falvio here. Jeek Falvio's full body chocolate dip. How you doing?
What's going on, Jeek? How you doing today?
It's doing very good, Ethan. So we talked today. I'm here today to talk to you about Jeek Falvio's full body chocolate dip. I'm the head chocolatier. I'm the owner of Jeek Falvio's full body chocolate dip. I have 7 sons. I have no daughters. And so today I'm talking to you about the services we offer. We're Massachusetts' leading full-body chocolate dip. A lot of people, they come to me and they say, Jeek, what is a full-body chocolate dip?
What is it, Jeek?
What do you got, only daughters? Look at me. 7 sons, no daughters.
Jeek, wait, real quick, what are your sons' names?
Jeek Jr., Steven, Mario, Flavio, Esperanto, Mickey, and Dawn. So I've got 7 sons. People ask me all the time, who's taking over the business? Jeek Jr. So anyway, people ask me all the time about the full body chocolate dip, and I say to them, what do you got? What do you only got, daughters? No daughters, 7 sons. And I'll tell you what, a full body chocolate dip is the absolute pinnacle of human relaxation, and it's a beautiful way to enjoy your own body. And I'll tell you exactly why that is. What we do in my facility, we will lower you bodily. We will hoop you under the shoulders and lower you into a vat of molten chocolate. We will then pull you out from it. Do not move. You are not allowed to move.
Wouldn't dream of it, Jeek.
Stand still for 15 to 20 minutes while you are painstakingly hand-dried by 1 to 4 of my 7 sons. You will then be allowed to move. The chocolate will break from your body, and this is the fun part, folks. You can then eat your hardened body chocolate off of our immaculately clean floor. Now, we have multiple packages available at Jeek Falvio's. The basic chocolate dip, of course, is only $120. You will not find a better deal. Have I mentioned to you that I have absolutely no daughters? I am a 7-son man. So as we've stated, you'll be dipped bodily into the chocolate. You'll then be allowed to eat your chocolate off the floor. Do you have any questions? No, you can't take chocolate home. We don't allow no take-homes. There's no take-homes.
So you have to eat all of the chocolate from your body?
All of the chocolate.
How's the pit chocolate? You get some in your pits?
Thank you for asking. The price is the same no matter how big you are. So for big boys, this is a steal at $120, because if you're a real big boy and there's a room for a lot of chocolate, you could come in for the same price as a little boy. My son Jeek Jr. is 6'9", 415 pounds. My son Flavio is 5'2", 87 pounds. Same price. They're the same price.
That sounds like quite the steal, Jeek. I hope all of our listeners run, don't walk, to Jeek Falvio's.
Run?
Don't walk.
You have a daughter. I can tell. That's a daughter man. No daughters, 7 sons. Thank you very much for your time. It's a beautiful show, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. Come down to Jeek Falvio's. If you mention that you heard this on the show, we will personally wash your scrotum for you, free of charge. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeek. I hope you and your large adult sons also have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Jeek. No, just. Yeah, okay. All right. Whew. All right, man. He has got a very unique affect and odor, that man.
Do you think he has any daughters?
It seems clear to me that he doesn't, but that's...
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the story there, but
I thought that was a gray area. But
yeah,
okay.
maybe someday we can have him back on and we can ask him about that, because he mentions it a lot, don't you think?
His lack of daughters?
Yeah, he says that a lot.
Yeah, suspiciously so.
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder.
He seems like he might be a daughter man.
It almost makes me wonder, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway. All right, well, yeah, thanks for letting me have him on, because he's been begging me for some airtime, so.
All right. Well, now that we've let Jeek do his little pitch, let's get right to it. So as I said at the top of this episode, today we are going to go back to the early part of the 20th century to get into, as I said before, the primordial soup of various Wall Street bankers and business magnates and a lot of these people who were pulling strings in the United States in the early part of the 20th century. But before we get into who I consider to be one of the real villains in the post-war period, I want to go over a little event called, or that we know of today as the business plot. So the business plot was something that the former Major General of the United States Marine Corps, Smedley Butler, one of my absolute favorite names in history.
It reminds me of Snidely Whiplash. Yeah. Do you remember Snidely Whiplash?
No.
From Wacky Racers? He was the guy, he had like the tall hat and the mustache and the fucking dog that was like... You know what I'm talking about? Muttley?
No.
All right, anyway.
No. Anyway, so Smedley Butler was a career Marine Corps man who rose to Major General. And in the 1930s, he became an activist, especially for veterans' rights, and he would do a lot of speaking. And he wrote a book which was a transcription of one of his speeches. It was a short book, about 50 pages. And I'm going to read an excerpt for you fine listeners now.
Can I just interrupt you really quickly? I just realized, due to a quick Google search, that Snidely Whiplash was actually from Dudley Do-Right. And the guy that I was talking about was Dick Dastardly, who had Muttley the dog.
Yep.
Anyway, I got the two confused because they're essentially the same character. Anyway,
okay,
I apologize.
Yep.
We can go back to the show now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can go now. It's no problem.
Okay, well, shut the fuck up.
It's no problem.
Shut your mouth.
Sorry. There's a beetle in here, and I'm sorry.
Oh, you're allowed to get that. You are allowed to get that because I'm not a heartless buffoon.
No, it's just that there's not a beetle in here, Evan. Even if there was,
I was willing.
Even if there was,
you could get it, my friend.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to.
You know why?
I wouldn't want to.
Because I want you to be comfortable.
I wouldn't want to.
Because I want you to be comfortable.
I wouldn't want to. Where were we? Back to it.
So back to Smedley Butler. Smedley Darlington Butler. No
fucking way.
Yeah,
Smedley Darlington Butler?
Yeah, he's the man. So anyway, so I'm going to read. So again, he was a Major General of the United States Marine Corps for many years.
Okay.
And I'm going to read a specific part of his speech. War is a racket. War is just a racket. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few, at the expense of the masses. I believe in adequate defense at the coastline and nothing else. If a nation comes over here to fight, then we'll fight. The trouble with America is that when the dollar only earns 6% over here, then it gets restless and goes overseas to get 100%. Then the flag follows the dollar, and the soldiers follow the flag. I wouldn't go to war again as I have done to protect some lousy investment of the bankers. There are only two things we should fight for. One is the defense of our homes, and the other is the Bill of Rights. War for any other reason is simply a racket. There isn't a trick in the racketeering bag that the military gang is blind to. It has its fingermen to point out enemies, its muscle men to destroy enemies, its brain men to plan war preparations, and a big boss super nationalistic capitalism. It may seem odd for me, a military man, to adopt such a comparison. Truthfulness compels me to. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service as member of this country's most agile military force, the Marine Corps. I served in all commissioned ranks from second lieutenant to major general, and during that period I spent most of my time being a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and for the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I suspected I was just part of a racket at the time. Now I am sure of it. Like all the members of the military profession, I never had a thought of my own until I left the service. My mental faculties remained in suspended animation while I obeyed the orders of higher-ups. This is typical with everyone in the military service. I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. The record of racketeering is long. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1902 to 1912. Where have I heard that name before? I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests in 1916. In China, I helped to see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. During those years, I had, as the boys in the back room would say, a swell racket. Looking back on it, I feel that I could have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was to operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. So yeah, that is just part of Smedley Butler's book and speech, War is a Racket.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it turns out that Smedley Darlington Butler is
like ultimate G.
Ultimate G, but also like not. They named him poorly.
Yeah.
This guy's name should be like Buzz Killington or something.
Dude, Smedley is not short for anything, dude. That's just straight up his first name.
Yeah. No, he's.
Yeah. So as I said, the previous was part of a speech that Smedley Butler, former United States Marine Corps Major General, gave to World War I veterans in the 1930s. Butler's infamous War is a Racket speech is one of his lasting legacies, taking up over 50 pages in print form. It begins, "War is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives." So Smedley Darlington Butler was born 30th of July, 1881 in Westchester, Pennsylvania, to Quaker parents.
I've had some good-ass times in Westchester. You know who else is from Westchester? Fucking Bam Margera.
Ah, dude, yes. Hell yeah, dude. Don Vito.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So being a Quaker, that probably explains the weird-ass name.
Sure.
He had joined the Marine Corps just before he turned 17, and by the time he died, was then the most decorated Marine in U.S. history. During his illustrious career spanning over 3 decades, he saw action in the Mexican Revolution, World War I, the Spanish-American War, and the Banana Wars, which saw extensive U.S. military involvement in Latin American affairs. As he alludes to in his speech, these were to protect American business interests.
Fuck yeah.
However, before he began speaking out against the nascent American imperialism of the late 18th and early 19th centuries, old Smedley Butler was allegedly approached by a shadowy group of powerful business magnates and industrialists in an attempt to overthrow the United States government and install a military dictatorship in order to remove President Franklin Delano Roosevelt from power. This event, which is still shrouded in some mystery, would come to be known as the business plot. So, folks, throw on your truth goggles, open your third eye, and let's take a dive headlong into the deep state.
Absolutely. And before you guys, I know that deep state is a buzzword these days. Evan and I do believe in QAnon. We also do believe in the flat Earth.
No.
We also do believe in the reptilians. We also do believe in David Icke.
No, I know Donald Trump is an absolute fucking moron, but he was right about a very few small amount of things, one of which is that there is such a thing as the deep state. It's this idea of the state behind the state, like this occulted state. It's the state that's not voted on, but these shadowy figures that can exist behind the state, moving pieces around over decades, as opposed to, just being voted in by the people.
Right. It's like a nasty, stinking swamp that just, honestly,
Okay,
that just needs to be drained.
Think about, if you're a fan of the X-Files, the character Deep Throat and the cigarette smoking man.
Oh, the smoking man.
Yeah.
He's my favorite character on that show.
What are you doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Masturbating myself to completion. What are you doing?
It sounded like you were grabbing some potato chips.
No, I have a GoPuff bag over here full of fucking strawberry seltzers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I just finished my Soleil cucumber melon, a little cuck melon.
Really
good.
Soleil is what? Is that
No.
Is it? I thought it was a store brand. Is it not?
I think it is. I always thought it was Stop and Shop, but I got this at Shaw's. I don't know if they commingle.
Shaw's, Star Market, Albertsons are all the same company.
Yeah, I know that, but I thought Stop and Shop owned Soleil. Maybe it's Shaw's.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, so on to the business plot. In 1933, according to Butler himself, Gerald C. McGuire, a bond salesman, and Bill Doyle, an American Legion commander, approached the retired Smedley Butler to speak at an American Legion convention in Chicago, as Butler had made a name for himself and thus become extremely popular with active duty and veteran troops. Speaking out in support of veterans and engaging in activism against the United States government. It was due to his willingness to speak out against the American government and due to his popularity with troops and the people at large that he was approached. The initial appearance was framed as the two asking Butler to point out some problems with the Legion's leadership, which Butler was open to due to his having legitimate issues he wanted to point out to help out veterans. However, over subsequent meetings, Butler became suspicious about the entire deal. At one of these subsequent meetings, McGuire showed Butler bank statements of $100,000, which is over 2 million USD today, which McGuire wanted Butler to use to draw supporters to the convention. He also announced to Butler that he was a representative and employee of the Wall Street financier Grayson M.P. Murphy, which that's just like one of those like evil names that you hear like in an old like Poverty Row flick or something like that.
I feel like the M stands for Murphy and the P just is P, so his name is Grayson Murphy P. Murphy.
Grayson Murphy Penis Murphy. Yep.
Pincus. It's Pincus.
Yeah, Pincus,
Grayson
yeah.
Murphy Pincus Murphy.
Yeah.
Wall Street financier.
Yeah. So this number, the 100,000, stunned Butler, as that was way more money than a group of veterans could amass. Then he looked over the speech, and his There's a little meter started going off because it ignored Veterans Affairs and instead lambasted President Franklin Delano Roosevelt for moving away from the gold standard. So just for background, this move away from the gold standard by FDR was massively unpopular with officials and bankers in the country in the 30s, now fearful that they would not be able to recoup their gold-backed loans. So this, on top of FDR's social policies of subsidies and jobs for the poor, made conservative politicians and businessmen alike fear he was a socialist, which, of course, FDR's left policies were merely to protect capital against a powerful socialist movement in the country. He was really social democratic.
Right. But in America, that's tantamount
I mean,
to
people
being...
are worried he was a fucking communist, you know?
Right. For this country, which unfortunately has always just been, like, hyper-conservative...
Yeah,
he essentially is the closest we've ever come to having like a socialist president in a lot of ways.
And he did not like socialists.
No,
his policies were literally because he was like, "Listen, man, if we don't do this, it could be worse."
Right. He was like at best like center left in terms of like modern directional politics, however you like to view it.
Yep. So Butler, beginning to fear that something far more nefarious was going on, asked to meet with McGuire's superior, who ended up being Robert Sterling Clark, the heir to the Singer Sewing fortune.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Someone now is an heir to the Singer Sewing fortune.
Maybe.
Is it Oh, no. Is it Tucker Carlson who's an heir to Swanson? Is that what he's an heir to?
I don't know. Is he? That's so funny.
He's like I think Tucker Carlson is a Swanson heir.
Yeah. He's a Swanson man.
Yeah, which is like frozen foods. I'm sorry. So I was thinking Singer. I can't imagine that the Singer family is still like on top of the world. Their sewing machines are still the best, but sorry, I got distracted. Tucker Carlson, Swanson, frozen foods.
Yeah. Tucker Carlson, we're leaving you on red.
You are put on notice and left on red, brother. This Sunday at SummerSlam.
Anyway, so Clark was completely honest with Butler and said his primary interest was preserving the gold standard, and he would spend half of his $30 million fortune to save the other half. So at this point, Butler plainly refused the offer and he parted ways with the group. McGuire, however, would begin traveling through Europe, using funds from Clark, and he would stay in touch with Butler. Upon his return, he opened up to Butler. The money put together for the convention came from a group of powerful business magnates, bankers, and scions of conservative American families who helped fund McGuire's trip through Europe to do reconnaissance on how veterans operated within foreign governments. And they believed FDR would send America into ruin, and they needed to install a military state run by the veterans of America with Roosevelt as a figurehead rather than the actual president. Of particular interest, wow, what a surprise, was the Nazi regime in Germany.
Nice.
The fascist regime in Italy.
Nice.
And the French right-wing nationalist league, the Croix de Feu, or Cross of Fire.
Ooh, that's a fun image.
Yeah. Oh, you should look it up. Dude, it is very
I don't know about
fascist.
the Croix de Feu.
Yeah, it looks exactly how you think it would. So Butler was to lead the veterans, amounting to 500,000 men under the financial backing of this shadowy cabal of capital, to march on Washington and depose Roosevelt from power. Butler, at this point, understood now that there was a nascent fascist coup in development to take over America, and he enlisted help to corroborate his story. He reached out to a friend and writer, Paul Comley French, who met with McGuire and was told by him that a fascist state was the only answer for America, with Smedley Butler being the ideal leader. And McGuire said, and I quote, "We need a fascist government in this country to save the nation from the communists who want to tear it down and wreck all that we have built in America." So,
Sounds about right, dude.
Yeah, he just laid it right the fuck out.
Absolutely. And you know
Like,
what?
he just
Kudos to this
straight up-
guy for at least just coming out and saying, like, yeah, we need to be fascist.
Yeah, no,
The
we're
problem
fascists.
with
We
most
want fascism.
fascists is that they won't admit that they're fascists.
Yeah.
I have a begrudging level of respect for fascists who admit that they're fascists. Now, are they still fucking pigs who deserve nothing but disdain?
Yeah, just
Absolutely.
oinking hogs, yeah.
But at least They
At least
know
they
they're
say
hogs.
they want the trough,
Yeah,
you know?
right. At least they admit that they're filthy, shit-sucking pigs.
Yeah, just fucking oinking hogs rolling in
Because
the mud.
this country is full of fucking fascists who, at best, won't admit
Who
it.
talk
at
about
worst,
freedoms.
Right. At best, don't admit it, and at worst, don't even realize that they're fascists.
Yeah.
And they are so rock solid at the idea of the boot to their throat that they're just like slobbering and foaming at the mouth to lick it.
Just rolling on the ground, writhing and oinking.
Absolutely. And so again, begrudgingly, I at least have a small modicum.
This dude in the first conversation with a new person was like, "Oh yeah, we want to install fascism.
We need to be
Get rid of
fascist.
Roosevelt."
At least he's upfront about it, so we know who to fucking throw in gulag.
Yeah, straight to gulag.
Straight to gulag for
Believe it
you.
or not, straight to gulag.
Believe it or not, you're fascist. Straight to gulag.
To gulag, yeah. So Butler, with the corroborating testimony of French, appeared before a congressional committee. And this is something we'll hear about a lot going forward. The House Un-American Activities Committee, or
baby.
HUAC, or as I usually say in my head, whack.
Say it slow for me.
What?
I was just joking, saying, "Oh, say it slow."
Whack.
Whack.
Whack. Now this would later on be a cudgel that would be used against the for the anti-communist crusades after World War II. However, Butler was quickly disregarded, with the American media immediately ramping up to denounce the plot and make it seem absurd. The New York Times, which, I'm sorry if there's any fascists out there, it's going to be the perverts that own the New York Times, but they called it a gigantic hoax without merit, and banker Grayson M.P. Murphy called it a damned lie.
A damned lie.
Yeah.
He probably said it like that. It's a damned lie.
It's a damned lie. So the American Liberty League was formed from, I guess these people love talking about liberty, was formed from leaders and captains of industry opposed to FDR, and they released a statement against the hearing. So this is from an article I read. Among its members were the DuPonts, S.B. Colgate, Sewell Avery, John Raskob, Alfred P. Sloan, and former Secretary of State Elihu Root.
I feel like I know Elihu Root.
Yeah, I know the name too. I can't.
What do we know him from? Can I look it up really
Secretary
quickly?
of State. Yeah. He was Secretary of State. But yes, I thought the same thing when I read that last night too.
I think that I'm actually having him confused with. So first of all, he looks a lot. What's the guy's name who played the Hobbit? And he plays Watson in Sherlock Holmes. I'm sorry.
Why
Yeah.
can't I think of his name? Shit. Why can't I think of his name?
I know,
He's in The Office too.
Yeah.
Oh, Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. He looks like. It literally looks like Martin Freeman with a false mustache on. Check this shit out.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Oh my god.
It's freaky. He looks just like him. Okay, but that's not who I was thinking of.
like him.
I was thinking of Elihu Yale, who's the guy after whom Yale is named.
Jesus
I was just like,
Christ,
I know
he
that
looks
I know
exactly like Martin
He
Freeman.
looks just like fucking Martin Freeman. Weird, huh?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway, Butler
I feel like
also...
you have to use him in the image. You got to put.
No, I'm using Alan Dulles.
No, but I'm saying like, can you tuck him into the corner or something?
Maybe, yeah. I always put little corner boys in there.
But like with a ring on.
Okay.
And
for you, I will do that.
And,
for you,
and then he's saying like, what has it got in its pockets?
For you, I will do that.
And then
okay, shut up, Jesus Christ. So
trolls
Butler
in the background.
Also, shut the fuck up. So Butler also noticed on the list Robert Sterling Clark's name, as well as Grayson Murphy Penis Murphy, who is Gerald McGuire's boss. Now. And this is the part I really like. Notably implicated. Guess who? The first time we're mentioning him on the show, but it won't be the last. Fucking Prescott Bush.
Fuck yeah.
Banker, Nazi collaborator, and father to George H.W. Bush, old Poppy himself, and grandfather to George W. Bush. And we will hear a lot more about the Bush family in coming episodes.
You know, I've met a Bush.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were they one of the Bushes?
Yeah, no, the Bushes. I worked at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And this is probably giving too much away about where I am and where I've worked. So we're going to actually
Yeah,
I'll tell you after the show, but
yeah. Okay,
I've met a Bush.
So this event became known as the White House coup and the Wall Street Putsch. And after the media, largely made up of people involved with the plotters and generally having a pro-fascist tint regardless, tried to decry it, the committee went through to completion and was able to corroborate all of Butler's claims as factual. Mm-hmm. Every single one.
Hell yeah.
The official finding was that this coup was being planned. They were just unable to determine how far along it ever came to happening, and if Butler's whistleblowing was actually the thing that stopped the fascist takeover of the American government. And oh yeah, guess what? No one was punished or prosecuted despite these findings.
That's like the most American shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, well, I'm sure half the Congress people are friends with these perverts.
Absolutely. Nothing's changed.
So Butler would, soon after this affair, become a staunch opponent of capitalism, and he would release his book, War is a Racket.
I gotta read this book.
Yeah.
This guy sounds like a fucking straight shooter.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now let's move forward a few years to World War II.
Oh, that's a spicy jump. Yeah. That is a zesty leap we're making. Let's do it.
So not long after the business plot was unraveled, the United States would be plunged into World War II, although for some of the plotters, the United States entered on the wrong side of the war.
That's how fucking funny that is. Like, it was literally, people talk about like, oh, America entered when it was beneficial, this and that. It's like, man, you guys don't understand. There was a debate about which side we should be on. Like,
and a lot of people. If anybody else was president,
a lot of people,
we wouldn't have entered, and maybe we would have sided with the Nazis.
Dude, you know who was a Nazi? Walt Disney. Everyone was a Nazi.
Oh, let's go through some of them right now, shall we?
You got a list?
So, yeah. So, Prescott Bush, scion of the old original American Bush family, future U.S. Senator, and father and grandfather to future presidents, was a Nazi collaborator.
Fuck yeah, brother.
He was the director and shareholder of companies that profited off of the Nazi regime, helping finance the government.
Preach, brother.
What?
Preach. Tell me about these motherfucking Nazis.
Oh, do you want to hear about his company's assets?
Absolutely,
that shit
I
was seized in 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act. As even after America entered the war, Bush's companies kept up their dealing with the Nazis, namely the firm Brown Brothers Harriman. Recall the beginning of the episode in Smedley Butler's speech. Brown Brothers. Where have I heard that name before? And guess what company would become a CIA front? Brown Brothers Harriman.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez.
Let's see. So Brown Brothers Harriman was the U.S. base for Fritz Thyssen, an early financier of Hitler. We will hear much more about BBH in the future.
But how much will we hear about BBC?
Bush even had links to the Consolidated Silesian Steel Company that made use of slave labor in Auschwitz and other concentration camps. As is apparent in the business plot's details, all of the businessmen were staunch anti-communists, and many of them openly or behind closed doors believed the Soviet Union was the enemy the United States should be fighting, not Nazi Germany. Hey folks, have you ever driven in a Ford? Because guess what? Henry Ford himself infamously promoted anti-Semitic conspiracies such as the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Man, we are going to do an episode on the Protocols of the Elders of Zion because it is such a fascinating topic. So just prepare yourself because it's beautiful. Beautiful, folks.
Henry Ford is probably one of the most famous anti-Semites in history. He even released a book called The International Jew. He also believed Jews were responsible for World War I, and he did not want the U.S. to enter World War II. The Ford Company worked closely with Nazi Germany, with their German branch utilizing slave labor from the Nazi prison and concentration camps. He was another Auschwitz boy.
I fucking love that. I fucking love how many of these guys straight up just used Auschwitz fucking slavery.
And they were financing the Nazis. And they're all just like, wait, why are we going to war with them?
What? There is a tie-in here with our last episode where we talked about the anti-Semitism that was already prevalent in industrial age London with our boy Saucy Jack. This shit is so... It runs so deep, this fucking insistence that Jewish people deserve to be victimized. Runs so fucking deep in Western society.
And they all fucking thought it. They all did. Like, all of these industrialists, these magnates, these wasps, they all fucking hated them.
God fucking
damn
it.
And of course, famous pilot Charles Lindbergh had visited Nazi Germany to survey the Air Force and had left impressed not just with Nazi aviation, but hell, with the Nazis themselves.
They inspired him to fucking murder his own kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that deserves its own episode, too.
Oh, God. Holy shit.
He also was against the United States getting involved in World War II and, rather, wanted to urge Hitler east to fight communism. He urged the West not to get involved in Hitler's wars because it would open the door to the spread of Soviet communism.
God damn, man. Charles Lindbergh, you stupid son of a bitch.
Yeah, fucking piece of shit.
Shouldn't have killed your own kid.
Yeah.
That's an episode, too. I mean, I know that kind of verges on true crime, and we've talked about how we don't want to do true crime, but
I mean, there's
Charles Lindbergh is an episode.
There will be some that I do, kind of true crime adjacent ones.
There you go.
Because guess what? If it has to do with, because a lot of it has to do with CIA spooks.
And the Nazis. And guys, I don't know if we've
guess what? They're the same fucking thing.
I don't know if we've made it abundantly clear on this show yet. I don't know if we've come right out and said it. But ultimately, if Evan and I had to direct our ire, our distaste towards one particular group, I'd say it would be fascists and Nazis.
Yeah.
We're both not fans.
Yeah.
We don't always agree.
And maybe I should have said this at the start of the episode. I think I was going to say it towards the end. But really, this episode, there's a reason I did the prelude with Peru and Bolivia. And it's because with this, like, the thing is, if there's any goal, and obviously I'm going to do some silly episodes that don't really have anything to do with this, but what I'm really trying to show is how there are people on this earth who deliberately created the world to be how it is today, and these aren't ancient history. These fuckers are still doing it.
Yeah.
Fucking Prescott Bush, him being a Nazi trying to overthrow the government in the 30s, is directly related to his fucking grandson invading Iraq in 70 years later. These are all interconnected events that can all be tied back to what happened here in these few decades. This is
100%.
It is really the story of the 20th century. It is all of this. All of these people, they built the world that we live in still.
And here's the thing. You don't have to believe in Satanist cults or in worshiping Moloch or in lizard men under New York.
Yeah.
Right? The deep state exists, and there are conspiracies worth investing your time in.
Yeah.
People want it to be this Hollywood space alien Independence Day shit, when in reality it's just a bunch of fucking Nazis who have been around since forever.
Who hate everybody who's not in their in-group, who's not in their clique.
It is cliquey group of rich white dudes who just want everyone else to fucking suffer.
And they want everything, and they want you to have fucking nothing. You get fucking nothing but what we tell you. That's what this is.
And you know why they love this QAnon shit? Because it distracts you from the reality, which is way more mundane and way more demented and scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that they, you know...
They don't need chemtrails. They don't need to put a computer chip in your arm, right?
They already monitor everything you do with your fucking
They've
phone.
Got you.
If you have a smart device, if you have a smart TV, if you have a fucking Alexa, or whatever these stupid things that these companies use to spy on you, any smart device, it's listening to you at all fucking times.
Yeah, absolutely.
They know everything.
And Jeff Bezos is going up to space with that fucking shit. And he's taking it up to space, and he's handing it off to the lizard people, and they're taking it and they're using it to. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, anyway. I've gone full circle.
Yeah. So anyway, now having entered the war on the side of the Allies, much to the chagrin of these perverts, the United States enlisted the help of the British intelligence services MI5 and MI6 in order to develop the Office of Strategic Services, or OSS. Which was the wartime precursor to the CIA. And I'm kind of quickly going through that. Really, there was one other precursor to the OSS, and really it was a lot more like the British, they kind of enlisted the U.S. to build their own intelligence apparatus. It was really the Brits pulling the strings at first, but we'll move past that. That's a different story for a different time. So the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, is created. It's the wartime precursor to the CIA. Now, it was William Stevenson, a British intelligence officer, that convinced FDR to have the office built, and FDR chose the Irish Catholic man William Donovan, whose family was originally called the O'Donovans, but they changed their name in order to try to fit in better with the WASP culture. So the bulk of the intelligence was developed by the UK until sometime after Pearl Harbor. And for both the OSS and its successor, the CIA, the bulk of the ranks were filled in using the American aristocracy. These are old money WASP families. For those who don't know, that's white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Like yours truly.
Yeah, I'm a good Catholic boy, but they were trained in the Ivy Leagues, and all of them were well acquainted with each other. I mean, like, all of the people who were originally pulled in were these business magnates. They were the Wall Street bankers. They were the lawyers who represented the bankers. They were their old classmates at Yale and Harvard and all these schools. And as a matter of fact, at the time, the OSS was even referred to as the Oh-So-Social Club.
Oh my God.
So once the CIA itself was formed, unrepentant Nazi war criminals would be added to its ranks along with all these people. And again, at the time, it would lead to the CIA originally being referred to as the American Gestapo.
That fucking rocks.
Yeah. And so in 1942, we will introduce you to the main villain of this entire series, Alan Welsh Dulles. Wall Street lawyer who had previously worked as an American diplomat, and he was recruited by William Donovan to join the fledgling service which he served in throughout the war. And I will get much, much more into Alan Dulles, the devil, the absolute fucking Satan of the American century, just one of the most evil pieces of shit to ever live. In many more episodes, I'll get into his background, but what you need to know is that he was a Wall Street banker, or a Wall Street lawyer who represented the bankers, and he had worked as a diplomat. So Alan Dulles would be stationed in Bern, Switzerland, the site of secret German and American negotiations to have German forces in northern Italy secretly surrender only to the United States, allowing them to retreat north and fight the approaching Red Army. So the lead negotiators in this case were Alan Dulles and the Nazi butcher and war criminal Karl Wolff, Obergruppenführer and general of the Waffen-SS, and former chief adjutant to Heinrich Himmler, and himself, that's Karl Wolff, having ordered the deaths of over 250,000 Jews. Apparently, and unbeknownst to FDR, Dulles was collaborating with Wolff in the surrender and ceasefire that would help shield Wolff from prosecution after the war if he aided in this betrayal of the Soviet Union during their approach to Berlin. These secret talks, however, could not get out in fear of provoking Stalin before the Cold War fully got underway. Dulles was trying to carefully align his chessboard. Specifically, this discussion was outlawed by the Casablanca Agreement, signed by FDR, Churchill, and Stalin, wherein the only surrender that would be sought by the Allies was unconditional. These secret talks between Dulles and Wolf undermined the White House in order to screw over the Soviet Union. So what you need to know is that Allen Dulles and his brother John Foster Dulles, they were really the masterminds of what would happen right after World War II.
Evil.
Evil. I mean, these are just like manipulative, evil, just absolute. Like, these dudes are fucking Satan incarnate.
Yeah.
And it would be under. So Allen Dulles would be the first civilian director of Central Intelligence, and John Foster Dulles would become Secretary of State under Eisenhower, and the two of them, like, scared Eisenhower shitless. Like, he clearly, like, he was always afraid to cross these two brothers who were lockstep and pushing America into the situation that it would find itself in after the war. This, state of aggression against the rest of the world, especially the Soviet Union.
And if you guys have heard of the Koch brothers, they're like the Koch brothers on fucking steroids.
Exactly. So, of course, Dulles at this time was keenly aware of the crimes of the Third Reich, as he was tasked in 1942 initially with collecting information on the Nazi regime from Jewish refugees in Europe. He knew about everything that was going on, and he chose to work with these people. In Bern, Switzerland, Dulles was responsible for contacting and working with Nazi resistance groups within the Reich. His task was not in rescuing the Jewish population, but rather ending military hostilities, and this was the goal he fought for. And for his part in helping end hostilities with America and Northern Italy, Dulles protected Wolf from Nuremberg prosecution, and he would parlay his career here into eventually becoming the Director of Central Intelligence. And of course, Karl Wolf was Himmler's adjutant who traveled with Himmler on official business, including to Minsk in 1941 to witness mass shootings, and by 1945 he was the second highest ranking member of the SS. So by 1945, Nazi Germany's defeat was imminent, and so this was where the Soviet-American alliance began to fester in the womb, leading to the unholy birth of the Cold War. The question was not when Germany would lose, but rather would the Western Allies or the Soviet Union have primacy over post-war Europe. If Wolf faced trial at Nuremberg, his secret dealings with an American officer in violation of Allied treaties would damage the partition of Europe after the war, as the Western Allies were preparing for a new potential war with the Soviet Union, as the Red Army was marching through Eastern Europe and liberating the continent on the way to Berlin. It also appears as though Dulles was not just concerned about American interests, but that his anti-communist stance had to do with protecting his clients in Italy, who he still represented and had dealings with, clients from his private civilian job as an attorney for financial capital. Dulles also aided another Nazi butcher, Reinhard Gehlen, Wehrmacht spy, on evading prosecution through his rounds of questioning. He advised him on how to make it through the questioning after the war in order to utilize his anti-communist and anti-Soviet intelligence. The lines in the sand of the Cold War were already being drawn, and even before the end of World War II, these same business interests that attempted a decade earlier to install a fascist government in America were now already betraying their communist allies and bringing in the Nazi butchers they once fought to help prepare them for the next war that was already being planned. It was the Americans who brought in Reinhard Gehlen, who brought in Karl Wolf, who brought in Klaus Barbie, The seeds of fascism in America were planted even before the Great Depression, back during those first imperialist wars in Cuba, the Philippines, Mexico, and across the American continents, as American business partners working in concert with the American government began to outline how best to make sure they stayed in power at the top of the country and how they could dominate the world for their profits. After the end of the war, Harry S. Truman would create the CIA, and Allen Dulles, the man who helped start the partitioning of Europe and who helped shield Nazi butchers from Nuremberg trial prosecution, would be tapped to be the first civilian director of Central Intelligence, and he would stop at nothing to prosecute the Cold War. We will examine in future episodes the terror he unleashed in order to accomplish his goals, up to and including sending bits of brain and skull flying out of a future U.S. president's head, all to maintain this posture of endless war for global domination.
Brutal. Yeah, dude. I love this shit. I am so fucking hooked. I think this is one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. I have never been so absolutely on board with. I guess this is going to be a series, but it's not like a traditional series like we've done so far, where it's like
it's more like
A to B narrative. It's just sort of bouncing around. But man, this was great. I love this because you know what? People need to understand this country is full of Nazis.
Yeah,
and if you ain't against them, you is one.
Yeah. And we're going to get into a lot of crazy shit. The shit that you're not supposed to know about.
Absolutely.
Things like Operation Gladio, the years of lead in Italy, the unholy alliance between the Vatican, the mafia in Italy, and the American state there. And, the secret stay-behind armies that committed false flag terrorism. We'll be getting into JFK, and I'm sure there's going to be many episodes on that.
Absolutely.
We'll be getting into Iran in the 50s and the coupping of the Mossadegh government. We'll be getting into Guatemala, the installment of the Banana Republics. We'll be getting into a lot of crazy shit, folks. A lot of shit.
And, I'm going to continue to do things that are like kind of callbacks, but linked to this stuff. So, you know what have I told you already what my next week's episode is going to be on?
No.
The Opium Wars.
Okay.
Right? It's like first war on drugs, except in reverse.
Yeah.
Where the U.S. and the U.K. were just like, no, we're selling you drugs.
Yeah.
And so I figure that seems sort of like the dynamic. Like, I'll do the old stuff, you'll do the new stuff, and we'll just fucking keep it rolling.
Yeah. And, here's the thing, too, is it's tough, like, researching this because, a lot of the times the information you're getting is, like what we're saying are not conspiracies. These are, by and large, a lot of this shit is admitted to by the government. And if it's not directly admitted to, there are like a lot of my sources in this are straight up scholarly articles in journals about it. It's these very well respected journalists doing it. And if we're allowed to know it, that is by definition an op. If the government, if the CIA is telling you something it did, that is itself a psychological operation. That's a psyop. They want you to know. And so you constantly have to be aware of these limited hangouts. Like one of the biggest ones in history that we'll get into is the Pentagon Papers. The guy who released the Pentagon Papers was a CIA asset.
Right.
And so they're telling you about certain things about Vietnam. Why are they telling you these awful things that they did? It's because they don't want you looking into other things.
Right.
And so you constantly have to be on the lookout for these limited hangouts and these psyops against, learning about any of this. So it's very interesting. It's constantly a game. It's a wormhole that, or rather, a rabbit hole that you go down and there's some crazy shit.
It gets nasty. And it's going to get nastier.
Yeah.
And then eventually I think where we're going to meet in the middle... we've talked about doing, I don't know how long it's going to be, but we've talked about collaborating on the Vietnam War.
Yeah. Yeah, we will eventually get there.
Because both of us want to do that, but there's so much to do in between now and then.
Yeah, the Vietnam War really starts in the 50s when the Americans take it over from the French.
Right. So what I'm kind of planning on doing, because you've got this overarching, like, I don't even know how to encapsulate what you're working on, but I think that I'm going to try to do supplemental stuff. So like I said, the Opium War, right? I even think Jack the Ripper is a really cool tie-in because it talks about like the degradation of society
the material conditions.
Immediately following Industrial Revolution. And so I'm going to try to kind of back up, what Evan's talking about with like throwback stuff to kind of build some foundation on that. So I think Opium War is the next logical step. And then we're just going to kind of slowly dismantle the imperialist legacy of not only the United States, but sort of the Western world in general. And hopefully we'll get there.
You're on the hot seat. You're in the truth seat.
Yeah, absolutely. This is I won't say a no-spin zone because, frankly, we've got spin. But I think that our spin is a righteous... It's a meat spin, and it's a righteous spin.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in this week. We'll come back at you next week. As always, please, on your app of choice, rate and review us. We really enjoy that. I noticed that we got another 5-star review on Apple. Thank you. Even though Apple Podcasts somehow became even worse, and the newest update.
Yeah,
and
it has not improved.
I can't believe they made it even worse. I don't know how that was possible.
They did it.
What?
They did it.
Yeah, they did it. So anyway, thanks for that. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we're Left Unread. My name's Evan. My co-host is Cameron. And, I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Keep that third eye open, folks.
And it's like Jake Falvio always says, I have 7 sons and no daughters.
Not a fucking daughter.
Not a single fucking daughter.
Yeah.
So,
all right, thanks, everybody.
have a good night.
All right, peace.